debate. Just by way of introduction, João and I have known each other a long time, back to more than 30 years when we were in the press room in Brussels. João was a spokesman for the European Commission. I was a journalist for The Economist. Boris Johnson was a young journalist for the Daily Telegraph. João had to look after us and keep us happy and look at and make sure we got the right stories and wrote the right things. We've all moved on to other things since then, but João has stayed a key member of the EU's administration really ever since. He's done a lot of interesting jobs in the EU. He was chief of staff to President Barroso in his first term of office. He's been EU ambassador to the United States. He's been EU ambassador to the United Nations, and now he's the first ever representative of the EU to Britain outside the EU. That's really enough from me. I'd like to, I'm sure a lot of people have questions and comments about the future relationship of the UK and the EU, but I'm going to hand over now to João to give us his opening thoughts on the record. Over to you, João.
Well, thank you very much, Charles. Good morning to you. Good morning to all those that are following us. Great pleasure to be here this morning. And I've seen an initial participant list, and I see a number of friends. So hello to everybody. Very good to reconnect. And well, I'm particularly happy to talk about the future because the recent past has been relatively tense, sometimes traumatic. Always extremely busy. So I believe it's time that we look ahead, that we look forward, that we try to project ourselves into the future. So I accepted with great satisfaction this opportunity to look ahead. Behind us, we leave 4 years of negotiations in different kinds, in different formats. I like to use 4 C's to qualify them. I would say compact because of the time frame, complex for obvious reasons, convoluted, and you know why, but also COVID impacted by COVID. Even the chief negotiators were unfortunately infected by the virus. So these were 4 years of negotiations, sometimes recriminations, sometimes good moments, but other less interesting ones. So we have left that behind. We avoided a no-deal scenario, and we are now on the basis of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, on the basis of the Withdrawal Agreement, and an important protocol on Northern Ireland and Ireland, and many other elements of this package. We should now be equipped to move on. Look at the future, as you invited me to do. But my question is, can we really look into the future? Are we really able to imagine what the future relationship will be like? In normal times and in normal circumstances, this would be normal. When we finish a negotiation with a given third country, all of us, the third country and ourselves, will look towards the future in a constructive, positive, forward-looking way. Well, these are not normal times, and sometimes one tends to realize that Brexit is particularly special. So the million-dollar question, or the million-pound question, if you want, or million-euro question, is Brexit really done? Or are we going to have what I will call a perma-Brexit? This is the question that I wanted to address with you today. One thing is clear, it's very difficult to predict where we will be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, and beyond. And it's particularly difficult in this case for, I would say, 3 sets of reasons. The first one is the nature of the deal. The second one is the volatility of the political context. And the third one is, of course, the impact of external factors that we do not control. A word on the nature of the deal. It is, as I said, complex, comprehensive, deep in some areas, very shallow in others. It involves, for instance, grace periods that are incorporated in the deal. It involves unfinished tasks on citizens' rights, for instance, but also on equivalence for financial service or adequacy for data. It incorporates a number of review clauses, which outcome we cannot anticipate. And importantly, it incorporates an interaction and the dynamics that it's difficult to foresee, typically on level playing field. The relationship between regulatory divergence and market access. Well, will we be in 5 years or 10 years? So how much will Britain diverge and how much market access will it lose? Or how much will the EU evolve as to imply repercussions on the British side? So in a way, this is a living agreement, in the sense that it has a foundation, it has a blueprint, but for all these reasons and a few others, it is likely to be a living agreement. I would add to that the fact that some areas we were not able to agree, but maybe potentially we can move forward. And typically the case of foreign policy and external security, where I hope that we can do more than we did in the deal, which is basically not too much. The second reason for making this prediction difficult is the political context. And by that, I mean the fact that this living animal will be living in a moving landscape, political landscape. Let's start with parties. How will British parties evolve in their approach to this issue, to European affairs, to relations with the European Union? How will your country evolve? You have a union, we have a union on our side. How will these unions evolve? There is a debate in the UK, of course. There's also a debate in the European Union. We're just about to launch a conference for the future of Europe. What will Europe look like in 5 years and 10 years? And how would that impact its relationship with UK, which would have evolved as well, and no one knows now exactly in which direction. So the political context in the environment of this relationship is difficult to predict, and we will have to accompany it to understand how much it will impact the proper relationship. The third constraint or element that we need to take in consideration is, of course, the external factors, the external environment. Geopolitical, geoeconomic, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of changes taking place in the last few years. Take the example of the United States. I mean, if we had this conversation 6 months ago, we'll be saying different things from what we're saying now, or we will say in the discussion, I'm sure, about the relations with the US. Let's mention the relationship between the US and China, the big power rivalry. How would it evolve, and how would that evolution impact us, partners, important partners as we are, of both the US and China? What will be a global Britain? What kind of choices are you going to make? How are you going to align yourselves with allies and non-allies? What about the European Union's strategic autonomy? How far will we go on that? What will be the impact on that in our relations with NATO, with our relations with the US, and our relations, of course, with the United Kingdom? So it's difficult to predict and difficult to foresee the scenarios, and I'm looking forward to our discussion to learn more from all the colleagues and friends in the call. Now, one thing is for sure, what we have ahead of us in terms of EU-UK relations is a huge task. It's a big challenge. And why is it huge and why is it big? Well, for maybe 3 or 4 reasons. One, and the first one, is that we have to disentangle something that took us half a century to bring together. This has never been done in the past. Let's see how we can do it in a successful way. We will need to manage divergence for the first time in the history of the Union and the history of the United Kingdom, I would say. Instead of managing convergence, we will have to manage divergence. How far and how big would that divergence be? That's one of the doubts I expressed earlier. But in doing so, we will have to handle what I would call divorce comitology. We have dozens of committees and subcommittees, apart from the Joint Partnership Council and the Joint Committee for the Withdrawal Agreement, that are part of the construction. This will require quite a detailed management on both sides, and that in itself is quite a challenge. And then we have the foundations for this agreement, for this new relationship. We need to consolidate them. They are just on paper for the moment. Let's see how much and how far we can go in consolidating, making this a solid building to serve the quality of our relationship. But there is one point which I would like to stress in these particular moments, and that is about the need for us to have a new mindset in approaching EU-UK relations. I think it's no longer about winning a debate. It's no longer about having the last word in a discussion. It's not about having complexes of superiority or inferiority regarding the other side. We need to have a mature relationship. We need to increase the levels of trust across the channel. I don't think we want more bad Fridays. And we need to move forward knowing that there is life after Brexit, that life after Brexit will be different from life before Brexit, but it's still in the interest of our citizens, of our businesses, that we make this next cycle a virtuous cycle, not a vicious cycle, a virtuous cycle in our relationship, founded in common values, in common interest as well, in competition, which should be healthy. The divorce is settled. We now live separate lives, and we need to move forward on that basis. Positive, constructive, forward-looking. There's a lot we can do together. There's a lot of good we can do together. And this is the focus of my job in London. It's been a year that I arrived. I'm looking forward to modestly contribute to this new cycle in our relationship. I would gladly listen to you to know what you can teach me about how this relationship should be about and what you can achieve. Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you, all of you, for being with us this morning.
Thank you very